In this Connect Leader training video, we're going to talk about one of the most important aspects of being a Connect leader. It's not something that we think a lot about in the beginning because we're focused on getting our group started, who's going to be a part of it, how we're going to lead, what we're going to talk about. But as we go on, one of the most important aspects of leading a Connect group is knowing how to recruit other potential leaders and then train them up for leading their own group next. We've talked about this before, but these connect groups are small representations of our church. Our congregation has a call by God to multiply ourselves. Once we reach a certain size, we want to raise up other leaders in the church so that they can go start a congregation of their own. Then we'll take those empty seats and we'll bring other people into the congregation and raise them up to hopefully in the future send them off to start a new church. These connect groups are really meant to do the same thing. Now, for some people, that seems a little bit intimidating, or it might even seem undesirable because we love doing life with the people in our groups. We love building these relationships. But we have to remember we have a lot of new people coming into our church. So if our group is just about our little holy huddle, well, that leaves a lot of people out. So what we want our groups to do is we want them to always be growing and multiplying. Well, for them to be growing and multiplying, we have to be able to raise up new leaders to take on new groups. So that means that we're able to continue doing life with people, building those deep relationships and really just enjoying getting to know other people in the church. But it also means that we're always welcoming new people in and we're allowing our relationships to remain flexible. So, to recruit other leaders, we want to understand that our Connect groups are part of how we live out the second part of our mission statement to be known within relationship with God and also His body. Um, this also helps us to fulfill the vision of reproducing biblically based, spirit empowered, and multiplying churches. That's our vision at Word of Life. These connect groups reflect that work on a small scale. Our goal is to have enough groups so that anyone in the church who desires to be part of them can be. But that also requires a lot of leaders. Right now, our church is a couple hundred people. Our goal is for our church to get to the size of about 300 adults. Well, if you take into consideration that a really good sized connect group, a healthy group, is about 10 people, well, that's about 30 groups that are needed. Right now, on any given Sunday, we have about maybe 10 connect groups that are available to people. So, over the next couple of years, we have a lot of work to do. In Matthew chapter 9, starting at verse 37, Jesus said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." As a Connect leader, one of your primary tasks is to always be on the lookout for potential new leaders. The first thing is to pray. Ask the Lord to raise up people within your own group and to show you who engages well, who shows up faithfully and naturally cares for other people in your group. You will notice people with natural leadership capacity, but they may not always recognize it in themselves. So start by asking them to step up and to help facilitate different parts of your gathering. Um, Allow them to lead the God moment conversation, to lead discussion on a particular verse, or taking the prayer request, any number of things. You might ask them to become your assistant leader for a season, to be your substitute if you have to miss. Those are all great ways to get people prepared for thinking of themselves as a Connect Group leader. In Matthew chapter 4, starting at verse 18, it says that while walking by the Sea of Galilee, Jesus saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew, his brother. They were casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Immediately they left their nets, and they followed him. And going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat with Zebedee their father, mending their nets. And he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father, and they followed him. Before they were four of the disciples, These were just four ordinary fishermen. These were normal people that God had extraordinary plans for. That is just like people in your Connect group. Jesus is going to call them from the midst of their regular life routines to begin walking in their calling and using their gifts. People will sometimes surprise you by the level of resistance that they have at first, the number of excuses that they're going to use and try to talk themselves out of and talk you out of them becoming a leader. Be patient. Keep praying for them and encouraging them with what God is showing you about them. So many times we are insecure. We have these inferiority complexes, and we just cannot see ourselves as worthy or spiritually mature enough to lead. Well, Jesus called on four fishermen and he trained them as they went. You have that same opportunity as a Connect Group leader. In Matthew 28:19, Jesus said, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." One of the key markers of spiritual maturity is the intentionality to make other disciples. It's not about how much you know or how much you do. It's about your willingness to impart that into others and doing it. That always involves recruiting and training. Helping to raise up other Connect Group leaders is an important part of that because discipleship happens best in groups. Discipleship is showing others how to follow Jesus like we do. That accomplishes two very important things. First, it helps them to grow and develop. And second, it pushes us to get better and keep moving forward in our own relationship with God. Being a Connect Group leader and actively making disciples in that context will prevent you from becoming stagnant in your spiritual life. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 2, Paul says, "And what you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." There are three generations of leaders represented in this verse. Paul taught Timothy, and he charged him with teaching leaders in the church in Ephesus. Can you guess what Timothy asked them to do? Yeah, he taught them to repeat the process. That is how the body of Christ is supposed to grow. What was the command God gave to Adam and Eve? It was to be fruitful and multiply. Healthy things are supposed to grow, and growing things will naturally change. If your Connect group is healthy, it will grow, which by necessity means that it will need to change to stay healthy, which is where the multiplication comes in. In 1 Corinthians 11:1, it says, "Be imitators of me as I am of Christ." This is always our goal, to show others how to follow Jesus the way that we learned. This includes leadership. The disciples did not stay with Jesus forever, nor did they remain in their holy huddle after Jesus ascended back to heaven. As much as they loved each other, they understood that the kingdom of heaven was better served by them focusing on a different group of people. Paul did not stay forever at the churches that he started, but he put leaders in place and he moved on. He made sure to check in with them and visit them when he could to maintain relationship, but he always moved on to the next group of people. This is our example to follow. Within the church, no matter how many people are in our congregation, we can stay intentional to maintain relationships. We don't have to be in a Connect group to get together and go to somebody's house for a meal or, spend some time together outside of a church service. But at the same time, we should always be looking for opportunity to develop new relationships as God is bringing new people into the church. The ideal size Connect group, as I've mentioned, is really about 8 to 12 people. That allows for intimacy to develop, engagement and discussion to happen, and multiple perspectives to be shared without trying to hear too many voices at once. Getting too many people in your group creates a dynamic where people are going to stop talking and some will become observers only. It is very difficult to get individuals to focus and care for these. It is very difficult to give individuals the focus and care that these groups are supposed to provide when they become too large. Once your group reaches about 10 people, on a regular basis, it's going to be time for you to start thinking about multiplying your group. That means you're going to start the work of identifying, recruiting, and training a new leader. During the last part of their training, you want to begin to ask people in the group to consider going with this new leader to support them. Ask 3, 4, 5 people, hey, would you be interested in going with John as he starts his new group? The way you explain the why and cast the vision is really important here. This is not a punishment. It isn't breaking up the band. It is supporting a new group and giving more people in the church the chance to be part of that group. Training new Connect Group leaders utilizes directive leadership. Here's what I mean by that. First, they're going to observe how you lead your group. Then second, they are going to help you to lead the group. Third, you will observe them as they lead in your group. And then fourth, they will begin leading their own group on their own. It's a 4-part process that takes about 3 months. After they've agreed to be a leader and engage in the training, that 3 to 4 month process will get them where they need to be. We also will have a leader's training manual to help guide you each step of the way. That's part of what these videos are about. Well, I hope that this helps explain a little bit about what's going to be expected of you as a Connect Group leader as you train and raise up other people to lead groups. Your group is going to have a big impact. And it's not just going to be the 10 to 12 people in your group. It's going to be all of the people in the groups that you help get started over time. And hopefully those groups are going to get other groups started. And exponentially, God's going to use you to impact many people for his glory. Thank you so much for being part of this, for having a willing heart to do what God is calling you to do. As always, we're here for you, and Jesus is with you always.